What's up, witches? It's Claudia here, and I have some exciting news. Finally, we have created a Patreon. So you can find us at patreon.com/truecrimecovenpod. At the moment, there is only one tier. It's the familiar tier, and it's just where you can chuck us £1 just to help keep us going every month. We aim to expand on this and create new tiers and exciting content. But for now, if you'd like to support us in this way, please do go ahead. That's patreon.com/truecrimecovenpod. Enjoy the episode, guys.
What's up, witches?
Hi, I'm Claudia.
And I'm Jess.
And welcome to
True Crime Coven.
So, how are you? It's very nice to see your beautiful face.
I know, we're
a
recording.
metre apart.
Yeah, we are
We are
actually
very
recording
close.
in the same room.
I don't know why I was so close.
Can you remember, literally, probably this time last year when we had one microphone and we literally started it? Like,
yeah, we were literally
nose to nose.
It was very intimate, and I miss those moments.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, something sentimental about it. But no, it is really nice to be back in the room with all the ferrets.
Yeah, with all the ferrets. Is it nice and smelly for you?
Smells so good. I have not missed the smell.
I can't smell it. I have gone nose blind.
Yeah, it's not a great smell.
Busby, what are you doing? Busby, what are you doing? I think he just was about to back up and do a poo on Lily. And then realised she was there and was like, oh, better go to the cage.
Whoops, she's not newspaper.
Honestly, Lilith, you didn't even react. What is she doing? She's walking.
Oh no, I think it was just a wee.
Are you okay, Lilith?
Did you put her in reverse mode today?
I think so.
Right, we're off to a great start already. Oh shit, I just hit the microphone. I'm not used to having a decent microphone. I've normally just got like literally my headphones with the microphone on it, so it's actually nice to be able to have some good quality recording equipment. Yeah.
So, welcome. This week, it's a true crime week.
Finally.
Finally. Oh, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
Okay.
Because normally we bring solved, wrapped up, at least a couple years old true crime cases. And today, I'm actually bringing a case that is currently ongoing. I won't give away too much, but they have, it's somewhat solved. However, a lot hasn't come to light because it's literally ongoing.
Yeah.
But it just caught my attention, and I was like, you know what? I've gone down a rabbit hole now, and I'm going to cover it, and it's up to me what I cover. So
yeah, fair enough. You do you. I feel like they wouldn't have released everything, would they? If it's still
there's
ongoing?
Definitely going to be a lot that we might do it if enough information comes out that it requires a follow-up episode. That's what we'll do. If it's just a little update, then it'll probably be part of our Patreon series coming out later this year. But also I wanted to cover this because I feel like we often cover English cases, American cases. Okay, we've covered an Italian case, but they're all very Western world, white-centric cases.
Yeah.
And this caught my eye because it isn't that.
Oh, okay.
And it's not often that I feel like we actually see cases from other parts of the world reported.
I agree with you. Like in the UK, it is definitely a lot of American, obviously mostly UK, but you'll get the odd American, you get the odd Canadian, you get the odd like New Zealand, Australia, but you don't tend to get like,
and it's weird,
anything from like maybe some European countries, but definitely nothing like Asian,
it's
African,
weird though,
Middle
because
East.
it would make sense if we had European, like if we had a lot of German cases in our media, a lot of French cases, completely makes sense because of the proximity. But like having a Canadian case over an African case actually
Doesn't
makes
make
no
any
sense
sense.
because the distance is the same. I think. I mean, me and Jess are the worst for geography, so
Yep, Simon will
attest.
Yes.
So I just thought, we did say at the end of last year that we wanted to start covering different kinds of cases.
Yeah, I think it'd be good because obviously I definitely won't have heard these because they won't be on the news.
No. This one was as well, and I think that took me by surprise, and I thought, I want to look into it more.
Yeah, okay.
So, as I said, as I wrote this, arrests are still being made. And And maybe I should have waited, but we're gonna go for it.
Why not?
And so today we're going to cover the murder of Edwin Chiloba. Or rather, what we know so far. It's, as I said, not the full case. Now, as we're recording, it's the 13th of January, 2023. It's Friday the 13th.
Whoop whoop.
Between
Good day to record. I didn't even realise that.
I mean, I love Friday the 13th. I've got a Friday the 13th tattoo, which means in the tattoo world that you are covered on Friday the 13th. So
Nice.
I'll touch this. But between now, when we're recording, and Monday the 16th, when this episode will go out, new leads and new details might come to light. And if so, then that's great. I absolutely want them to. But just be aware that if anything comes out over the next 2 or 3 days, it won't be included in this because I can't physically do that.
Fair enough.
So just bear that in mind.
Shame you can't look into the future, but
it would be really helpful in many things.
Yeah.
I could have warned everyone about COVID, really. So the trigger warnings this week are just at least a discussion of a hate crime against LGBTQIA plus people. And there is a brief mention of rape. Literally, I mention it. Also, there are some quite graphic details that I will mention, but I'm also going to give a little disclaimer before this because we don't often do that. But I also am going to mention the manner of which people that we're covering are killed when it's appropriate. So I'm also going to apologise now for any mispronunciations because this case comes from Kenya, and most of the subjects are Kenyan or at least East African, and I am trying my absolute best, but I might get things wrong, and I'm very sorry if I do. Also, a lot of the people in this case, I saw their names spelt different ways.
Okay.
Was very hard to ascertain why.
Yeah.
And I also saw quite a lot of articles that were in Pidgin, which obviously I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's like Pidgin spellings mixed with English spellings.
Oh, okay. So it could just be a translation.
Yeah. So I'm trying my best with not with mispronunciating. I'm trying my best to pronounce everything correctly.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, Edwin Chiloba was in fact born as Edwin Kiprotich Kiptu in 1998 in Elgeyo Marakwet County in the west of Kenya. And I think what brought around his name change was just sort of, it was an online name. He came to be known as Edwin Chiloba more commonly, and so that's how most of the media have been referring to him, and it's how I will be referring to him. Sadly, Edwin lost his mum when he was very young, and a few years later he also lost his father, who was said to be a source of inspiration. Following the passing of both his parents, Edwin spent his childhood moving from relative to relative, and then enrolled for a degree in the education programme at Moi University West Campus, located in Eldoret Town. And although he moved from relative to relative, I think this was more sort of like a large family full of love.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he had a bad childhood. Obviously it's not brilliant to lose your parents when you're young, but he had a lot of family, a lot of support. He was very loved. It wasn't being pushed from
dysfunctional family.
No, and it wasn't being pushed from pillar to post. I think it was more like it takes a village sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So whilst studying at Moi University, he met different types of people from all walks of life, like we all do when you go to uni. You know, you go to, like, when you go from your school, when you're in school, you're with people from similar demographics to you.
Oh,
you know,
definitely.
similar class, similar backgrounds. You know, you literally are in the same area.
Yeah.
But as we all know, when you go to uni, suddenly your world opens up and you meet people who have experienced completely different things to you, different backgrounds.
Oh, completely different walks of life, isn't it?
Exactly. It's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And in turn, they introduce you to new interests and ideas. And it was here, in Edwin's third year of school, that he found his love for fashion because he met new people.
Oh, nice. So it sounds like he found himself when he went to uni, really, like most
Yeah,
people
as
do.
I think a lot of us do.
Yeah.
He found his love for fashion and he began putting outfits together and taking part in photo shoots and even participating in pageants. In 2019, at the age of 21, he moved to Nairobi from Eldoret and began studying fashion. Soon, his eye for design and style meant that he began making a name for himself within the fashion community. And with his good looks and toned physique, Edwin was also known to model the outfits he designed. And I believe his company was called Chiloba Designs. And there's still an Instagram account up. But fashion was not all that Edwin was passionate about. He was also a loud activist for LGBTQIA plus rights. Something that, you know, it's to be applauded in the Western world, but even more so in Kenya. Because to be gay in Kenya is still a crime.
Oh, wow.
Anal sex, referred to as sodomy, is a felony as per section 162 of the Kenyan Penal Code and is punishable by up to 14 years imprisonment, and any sexual practices between males are referred to as gross indecency and as such are a felony under section 165 of the same statute. Such acts could see those charged serving 5 years in prison.
That's ridiculous.
It's
That's such a long time for literally nothing.
I mean, we've covered cases where actual rapists and murderers get less time.
Yeah.
That's the thing, it's such a, like, it's literally two people enjoying themselves. No one is hurt by this. If it's consensual, no one is hurt by that.
Yeah.
It causes no harm. Interestingly, sexual activity between females is not prohibited by law, but not because it's progressive, but because lesbians, bisexual, transgender and non-binary people are not recognised in the Kenyan constitution. So rather, the reason the laws don't exist is because these people don't exist. However, whilst they may not experience criminal charges, these people still experience discrimination and are often subjected to quote unquote corrective rape practices by heterosexual men, or rather, as I like to call these particular men, piece of shit rapists.
So as I understand that, they are literally trying to rape these women straight.
Yeah.
That's horrific.
Exactly. So
also, if there's anything that's going to put you more off a man.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it's horrific.
Mm.
In May of 2019, the High Court of Kenya refused an order to appeal these laws. So people have tried to appeal them, and as recently as 2019, Kenya have refused to.
That's ridiculous.
Relationships between people of the same sex or gender are not recognised under Kenyan law, and same-sex marriage is banned under the Kenyan constitution, with same-sex couples also unable to adopt children. Additionally, there are no protective laws against the discrimination of individuals based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. However, while transgender people in Kenya are not protected and have historically suffered discrimination, the courts have recently ruled in favour of name changes on legal documents. And I included that because it's sort of something that people perceive as perhaps a bit of an inkling of change to come.
I think it is a bit change to come. Like, sometimes you just need that little thing to get the ball rolling.
Spark ignites a flame.
Definitely. So it might seem like a small step, but...
And also it's a huge thing for those people.
Yeah.
So. Overall, being part of the LGBTQIA plus community in Kenya is still a huge taboo. With Kenyan society considered conservative, it is reported that many people there see homosexuality as repugnant. However, public support has been growing in favour of the LGBTQIA plus community, and there are many organisations fighting to protect and improve the rights of those within that community. And I must say, I think it's important to remember that sometimes those with the loudest voices are not necessarily the biggest group.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think, like most new generations do, the most recent generation are not as... the most recent generation in Kenya are a lot more accepting.
Yeah. But I think you get that in most places, that people are getting
change
more
happens with
accepted.
it. Yeah, change comes with new generations, and I also just think that whilst it's considered to be quite a conservative place, there are huge groups striving to make differences. So it's not as if I don't want to say that things aren't happening and that everyone there is homophobic, because that would be so wrong to say.
Yeah.
Basically, it is still a taboo, but it seems that perhaps change is on the horizon. And I think it's difficult to know what attitudes are really like, having never been to Kenya myself. I also want to add that in no way am I, a British woman, criticising Kenyan society or the citizens of Kenya. I feel like England currently, and historically, has no place to be judging anyone else.
Oh, hell no.
And interestingly, as well, these laws were actually put in place during the British colonial era of Kenya, which took place between 1901 and 1963.
So basically, the British people are to blame.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful.
And the British colonial era is the posh official way of saying that period of time when we, the British, went to Kenya and forced indigenous farmers and herders off of their own land and onto infertile land, or we forced them to work for us on that land that we stole from them. And I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs, but basically, us British stole the land from Kenyans and put these laws in place, and then they just haven't been overturned.
You can see why a lot of people don't like us.
Yeah, I mean, this is literally what we did all over the world.
Yeah.
But that's a different podcast. Now, I do condemn laws that discriminate against members of the LGBTQIA plus community anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course I do. I myself identify as bisexual, and I have many friends within that community. But I also just want to say that the reason I'm sort of almost defending Kenya there is because I just don't want to sit here and just... I feel like it's a bit rich for me to sit here and almost condemn a place that, one, I've never been to, two, the country that I'm from put these laws in place, and also the country I'm from isn't exactly without blame and isn't without its own past and current problems.
Yeah.
But yes, of course, myself, and I think I speak for the whole of True Crime Coven when I say
definitely.
that we are massively in support of members of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Yeah, 100%.
But back to Edwin Chiloba. So now that we know that basically being gay is illegal in Kenya, Edwin, being an LGBTQIA plus activist and an out gay man, was both admirable and brave. And sadly, I did just say was, because on January 4th, 2023, Edwin Chiloba was found dead. He was last seen on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2023, after partying with his friends on New Year's Eve at Tamasha Club in town. Some reports suggest that he may have left the club to go to an after party at someone's house, but this isn't confirmed. All we know is that he left with some friends, and that was the last time he was seen. A clip that could well be the last footage of Edwin alive has come out, showing him happily dancing and having fun with his friends while singing along to the song Live and Die in Africa by Sauti Sol, which I had to look up, and it is a bit of a bop, actually.
Oh, really?
It's well worth listening to.
A good one to dance your way into the new year.
Yeah, and actually the video itself, I think, shows a little bit of... I mean, it's filmed in Kenya, so I feel like it shows the culture a bit.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
so it's quite interesting. It is believed that he was killed on New Year's Day, as neighbours have reported to have heard, quote, commotion and cries which subsided after a short while, end quote. A boda boda rider, which is what motorcycle taxi drivers are commonly referred to in East Africa, called in a tip to police, stating that they had seen a metal box being dumped at the side of the road by a car which had no licence plates, in an area 25 miles outside of Eldoret, where Edwin lived. At the time, officers were manning a nearby roadblock and so abandoned their post to rush to the scene. Edwin Chiloba's body was found inside, and this is where I'm going to be discussing how he was found and the state of Edwin Chiloba when he was found. So skip ahead maybe 15 to 30 seconds, and if you don't want to hear this. Edwin was found dressed in women's clothing, red trousers and a black jacket with silver stripes, notably the same outfit he was wearing on New Year's Eve in the club with his friends.
Okay.
His body was also found with socks stuffed in his mouth and a piece of denim from jeans tied around his face, and his eyes had been gouged out.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah. He was also in a state of decomposition, which is to be expected, considering he had likely been dead for around 3 days, and the temperature in Kenya in January is normally 20 to 30 degrees Celsius.
I was going to say, I can imagine it's quite warm in a metal container.
Yeah, it's not.
You're gonna, yeah.
Edwin's body was taken to Mar Teaching and Referral Hospital, where the chief government pathologist, Johansen Odur, concluded that the young activist had died from asphyxiation caused by the pieces of cloth stuffed into his mouth. Now, as you might have guessed, speculation has been made that Edwin Chiloba's sexuality and activism within the community was the motive for his killing. However, this case is ongoing, and so we have no definitive motive right now.
Okay.
However, someone has confessed and has stated their motive. We'll get on to it. So, the main suspect and the person who has confessed to killing Edwin is a man named Jackton Odiambo, a 24-year-old photographer who has been described as a long-time friend of Edwin's.
I feel like you say that in quotation marks there.
Yeah, he and Edwin were in a romantic relationship together. They even had a chihuahua together.
I thought you were going to say child for a second there, but no, chihuahua.
Well, that
Just as important.
We will get on to another theory.
Okay.
But no, chihuahua.
Okay.
A child chihuahua.
Cute.
Yeah, very cute.
So it's quite a serious relationship then, if they've got a dog together.
Yeah, I mean, I count that as serious.
Yeah.
Jackton is currently being held at Langus Police Station. So, on January 8th, 2023, 4 more people were arrested in connection with Edwin's murder. They were Ramsey Chepweo, Jean Ochian, Emmanuel Amondi, and Dennis Litley. It is believed that they helped Jackton move the metal box that contained the body of Edwin Chiloba. So, here's what we currently know based on reports as of today, the 16th of January. Edwin's sister, Melvin Faith, told Nation, a news publication in Kenya, that she had invited her brother to the club, Tamasha, where she works, so that they could see in the new year together. She said that he arrived at around 10 p.m. and then left shortly after 1 a.m. The siblings chatted for around 20 minutes before she says that she bidded him farewell and he left with a friend that she did not know. The last words he said to her were, "Bye sis, we shall meet again, I'll miss you," which I know sounds a bit weird to us, but I think it could be a translation, and also it's a different way of speaking because it's a different culture.
So he probably was just like, "Oh, see you later," kind of thing.
Well,
like
I think he might have said these. It's either a translation error or he did say these words, but the way that, although that would be quite weird in like an English Western way to speak, it might not be in their culture.
Okay.
And I believe they spoke Pidgin, it's called, but I could be wrong.
Okay. The other thing that she says as well is that he leaves with someone she doesn't recognise. And
yeah.
So he obviously doesn't leave with the guy who's confessed.
With Jackton.
Yeah. Otherwise she would recognise him.
There's some... I don't... So...
Sorry, I've given you a really difficult question there, I can tell.
So, he wasn't out to his family.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if he would have ever introduced them to Jackton.
Oh, okay.
Even as a friend.
It could have been Jackton then.
It could have been Jackton, or it could have been one of the other men who have been arrested, or could be anyone. It's not been confirmed.
Okay.
Basically.
Oh, that's interesting. Interestingly, he hasn't come out to her sister, but he was wearing, as you said, did you say who was wearing women's clothes when he was found?
Yeah, but this is the thing. They say women's clothes, but I would say red trousers and a black jacket with silver stripes. It's not the most feminine outfit.
I thought that when you said that. I was like,
I'm not
like,
saying
if you
that...
said he was found in a dress, then I'd be like, okay,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm not saying to
in
be
a jacket.
Yeah, I'm not saying to be feminine that you have to wear like a pink frilly dress and dolly shoes, but I feel like to say it's women's clothing, you would expect it to be more out there, like, women's clothing. Like,
obviously women's
but
clothing.
Maybe they just mean it's not masculine clothing,
like feminine clothing. Like even like it could even like literally been like red leather skinny trousers.
Yeah, it might be that it's feminine within their culture.
Yeah.
Later, Melvin Faith tried to call her brother, but she states that his phone was off. Then we have reports from neighbours of a commotion that took place in the early hours of New Year's Day, as I said earlier, at the home that Edwin and Jackton shared on the Kimumu estate in Eldoret. According to Uasin-Gishu County Detective Chief Inspector Peter Kimowu, in the first few days of the new year, neighbours on the estate complained to Jackton about a bad smell coming from the couple's home, and reportedly Jackton told them that it was a dead rat that he planned to remove. And him saying dead rat will come to be a bit, maybe have a bit of an undertone to it.
Oh, okay.
So just remember that phrase. The caretaker of the house, Alex Niamira, told police that on January 4th, Jackton had called to inform him that they planned to vacate the house. Interestingly, the call came from Edwin's phone, but Jackton was the one on the line.
Okay.
The caretaker then visited the house and claimed to see Jackton in possession of the metal box that Edwin was later found in. Neighbours have also told how on January 3rd, so that's the day before Edwin's body was found, they saw a vehicle with 2 people loading a metal box into it before taking off. Police have also stated that Jackton took a number of Edwin's possessions to another house he owned, and these belongings are they're currently being forensically tested in the course of the investigation. But yeah, Jackton had a number of Edwin's belongings.
Okay.
It's not looking good.
Yeah, seems to be a lot of evidence stacking up against them.
Yeah. The vehicle that was seen leaving the metal box by the side of the road, the one witnessed by the Boda Boda driver, has now been seized by police too. All 5 men arrested over the murder of Edwin Chiloba were presented before Senior Principal Magistrate Richard Odenyi and did not take a plea. And to recap, these 5 men are Jackton Odiambo, Ramsey Chetwayo, Jean Okchien, Emmanuel Omondi and Dennis Litley. Eldoret South Detective Chief Inspector Stephen Mumber made an application to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to hold all 5 suspects for a further 21 days pending the investigation. This application was granted, and therefore the 5 will remain in police custody until January 31st, 2023. And that's a long time, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going mad.
Yeah. I mean, not that I know how any of it works, but I thought it was like 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, my understanding and knowledge of the UK legal system is minimal. You'd think it'd be better considering how much true crime I absorb and this, but for some reason it's shocking, my knowledge. And so you can imagine my knowledge of Kenyan criminal law.
I have absolutely no idea. But no, did you say 23 days?
21. So now let's look at why it is believed that Edwin's boyfriend Jackton killed him. So the main theory and why Jackton has said that he killed Edwin is that Edwin might have cheated on him, with Jackton stating that it was an act of revenge on Edwin for betraying him. So now the dead rat has a bit of an undertone.
But that is a massive, he cheated on me, so I murdered him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was maybe they were arguing about it and one thing led to another and it became physical and it was an accident. But I have to say, if it was an accident, then the eye gouging makes no sense.
Yeah. Also, I think this is the most discussed topic of conversation on this podcast. But it takes a long time to strangle or suffocate someone.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
You don't do that accidentally.
I would say that it could have been accidental, but actually now that I remember that he died by asphyxiation from socks stuffed in his mouth and tied with denim, basically a gag.
Yeah.
And he had his eyes gouged out. That's no fit of rage accident.
Imagine trying to justify. So I fell over and my thumbs went into his eyes and I accidentally gouged them out. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, that's no fit of rage accident. If he died from head trauma, you push someone, they fall over.
Hit their head, accident.
Yeah. Even if he died from blunt force trauma from, repeated blows to the head, it's not brilliant, but you can understand how that's a fit of rage, passion.
To
thing.
punch, be out of control,
Yeah.
see red, and then be like, oh shit, he's not breathing.
Oh my God,
Like,
once it wears off, you're like,
yeah.
oh. But yeah, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
very happy I'm not jacked and having to try to justify that
Yeah.
if he does try to. It is speculated that Edwin was cheating with another member of the LGBTQIA plus community known as Gatosh. And I'm not sure why it is speculated that he was cheating with him. I think it might just be that there's a few photos of them together on social media.
Okay.
But I thought I'd include it because that is who it's believed that he might have cheated on him with.
Okay.
So there are other theories, and we'll go through them. But I want to say, of all these other theories, I'm obviously not being familiar with Kenyan publications. I don't know what... I mean, you can get a pretty good idea from websites, but some of them might be a bit tabloidy.
Okay.
And also, some of these theories have come from people just posting on social media theories.
Okay.
We will go into them because if
real
anyone...
trusted source.
Yeah. We will go into them because if anyone wants to look into this case or, you know, just looks it up, these will come up and I'd like to cover every angle and every theory.
Fair enough.
But I would say take all of these with a pinch of salt.
Mm-hmm. Will do.
So, an impeached Kenyan politician named Mike Sonko speculated that Edwin was having an affair with a woman. Someone described as an entrepreneur called Michelle. Now, I don't know how to say this lady's last name. It's either Talami,
Okay.
and there's a silent N, or it's Natalami. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But
I
Michelle...
can't give you any insight there, I'm sorry.
No. However, Michelle squashed this rumour pretty quickly, and she actually replied to Mike Sonko being like, if you want my attention that badly, do better.
Yeah.
She insists that Edwin was just a close friend whom she loved very much. And in my own personal opinion, it seems completely true. So it seems like he's saying this because there's nice photos of her and Edwin posing together and they're hugging. And then she's obviously posted about how much she loves him and misses him and how amazing he was.
Okay.
And I just feel like this guy's reaching,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. And also...
literally grasping at anything he can get.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly why Mike Sonko was impeached, but when I looked him up, it did come up with gross misconduct.
Okay, he sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, so maybe not the most trusted source.
Yeah, okay.
I personally just feel like Michelle posted a heart-wrenching post in memory of her friend who she loves and lost.
As any of us would if we lost a close friend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in her post to Edwin, Michelle told the world how he stood for love, truth, laughter, kindness, authenticity, empathy, and style, which I just think is really lovely.
Yeah.
Another love triangle has been put forward too, although again, I'm really not sure how much credit there is for this.
Is it again grasping at straws?
Yep. So, a photo went viral of Jackton and Edwin with an unnamed woman, and other photos have been seen of Jackton with this woman and a child, a baby. And from what I can tell, due to Jackton posting these photos with the hashtag family and saying, like, a part of me, some have decided for themselves that perhaps this woman is Jackton and Edwin's surrogate, and that the baby is Jackton's biological child. Which just seems like a bit of a stretch. I mean, it might be true, and if so, good for them. Yeah. And obviously they wouldn't be able to legally adopt the child, so it would be hard to know.
Yeah.
But I just think because the hashtag family and like a part of me, like this could just be Jackson's sister.
Yeah.
Or a close friend.
Yeah, it doesn't mean just because you have taken a photo with a woman and said hashtag family doesn't mean that that is your child. Especially
in my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding of Kenya is that it is very much like people become your family. There's a lot of chosen family.
Yeah.
And communities. So it doesn't seem, if that is true, and I could be completely ignorant and wrong, that would be a weird hashtag necessarily.
Yeah.
And like I call people like my soul sister and stuff like that.
Yeah, or like, I mean, I always joke that or like has loads of aunties and uncles, because we call, as well as like our actual family and her actual aunties and uncles, we call all of our friends like auntie, uncle.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, God forbid if anything ever happened to you and someone decided to take those out of context.
Yeah.
So I personally think it's a massive stretch. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I just thought I'd address it just in case. Another article online suggested that Jackson and Edwin had recently broken up, suggesting that rather than infidelity being the cause of the murder, that in fact Jackson was just a jilted lover.
Oh, wow. Again, that's a very big escalation from being a bit hurt by someone breaking up with you. Yeah,
and there's two things of this. If they were broken up, and, you know, Jackson had been stewing, I kind of think that whilst, don't get me wrong, I think it's completely healthy to be friends with an ex. I just don't know how many exes, recent exes as well, like, you know, like recently broken up with exes, it's still a bit fresh. I would then spend New Year's Eve, like seeing a new year in with, personally.
Yeah. And still be living together.
Yeah, but then that might be money and legal things.
Yeah, true. But I feel like surely they would have known someone who they could
just crash with. Yeah. But then I suppose the flip side of that is perhaps they were together, they went home, they had an argument, broke up, and Jackson murdered him in response to that.
Yeah, so it could have literally happened that night.
Exactly. However, according to a man named Lemiso Sato Emmanuel, and I probably butchered that,
it's fine.
He states that money might have been the motive behind Edwin Chiloba's murder. And again, I'm sceptical, pinch of salt, a handful of salt.
Yeah.
So
is this another social media?
Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah.
So Lemiso posted, I am verifying reports by credible sources, he doesn't state the sources, that Chiloba was not killed necessarily because of a love triangle, but because of a 5 million shilling gift. So that's equivalent to around £33,000. So quite a bit of money.
Yeah,
but I don't know if I'd murder someone for that money.
No.
I wouldn't murder a lot of people, but, you know, maybe £5 million. No, I'm joking.
Okay, so if I ever come into money and then die, we all know where to look first.
Yeah. All your aunties and uncles. No, all your brothers and sisters, sorry. The article by Biggest Caca reports that Edwin originally received a 5 million shilling gift from a white lover. He then showed this cash to his circle of friends, as I guess you would do, make it rain, and was allegedly paying for his drinks and cash at the club. And according to Lemiso, his friends then killed him to get their hands on his cash. Also, did I just pronounce that guy's name 3 different ways in one paragraph? Maybe. Sorry.
If you did, you did. One of them might be right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. So, my problem with this theory.
Yeah.
Not just that he has no evidence that we know of to back it up.
I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah, a huge one.
Yeah.
But also the fact that everyone is saying how generous and kind Edwin was, and perhaps this likely extended with his money.
Yeah.
And also he was a model and a fashion designer making a name for himself. You know, he wasn't probably a guy with no money.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, if his friends wanted money, 1, I feel like he would have given it to them, and 2, keeping Edwin alive would have benefited them more because he would have continued to make money and share it with his friends. If you're going to look at it from, you know, if you're that kind of person who is friends with people because of money.
Especially if it's like your partner. Because do you know what I mean? Like you tend to get to a point with your partner. Yeah. Oh, okay. So they would have just boosted each other's careers as well.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, I understand that someone being generous with you isn't exactly them giving you the whole 33k, but bear in mind we're proposing that 5 people were involved with his murder.
It's not going to go very far.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to do that maths.
So in that currency, it's 1 mil each.
Oh yeah, but 33. Yeah, so it's 1 mil each in that currency, but I mean it's 6,600 I could have done that maths easily, I just realised. £6,600. Is that worth killing a friend over?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no.
But then, I mean, what amount of money is worth killing a friend over?
Yeah, but I mean, it's got to be life-changing money, surely.
Yeah.
But then maybe that is life-changing for them. Who knows? Either way, it's not justified. But personally, it makes no sense to me. I feel like
they would have benefited more if he was alive. Yeah, financially.
If you're that sort of fake friend that is around just for money, first of all, disgusting. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Secondly, surely keeping them alive means that you have that quote unquote cash cow for longer.
Yeah. Especially as it sounded like his career was really taking off and going somewhere. He would have just recommended him as a photographer. Obviously,
Jackson,
Yeah, Jackson as a photographer. I don't know what the other friends did, but I'm assuming if they were all friends, they were probably all part of the same community.
They would have benefited in some way, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right, if I made it big, Jess, you'd get a $5, all right?
Thanks.
I'd buy you a coffee.
To be fair, I'd take it.
You would take it, Jess. You'd take it and you'd like it.
I'd love a coffee. So, yeah.
And the last theory that has been put forward is that Edwin was killed as part of a hate crime against the LGBTQIA plus community. And I suppose this works in two ways. If it was done by Jackton, it could be that, it could be due to his own insecurity.
Yeah.
Of who he is, because obviously Jackton is gay as well. Or Jackton is in fact straight and it's been a ruse for all this time. These are what I'm spitballing here.
Yeah.
But, stranger things have happened, unfortunately.
Oh, God, yeah.
Or this is saying that Jackton did not kill him and someone else did and it was a hate crime. Again, I don't know why Jackton would necessarily take the fall for it. Perhaps,
Also, there's a lot of evidence against Jackton, so I would be surprised if that was the case.
But this is just another theory, and then I'm spitballing on that theory.
Yeah.
And sadly, if this is the case, then it wouldn't be the first time that members of the LGBTQIA plus community in Kenya have been the subject of violence. As we discussed earlier, gay people have little to no rights within the law or constitution, and attitudes towards homosexuality are reportedly mostly negative, despite LGBTQIA plus activist groups' best efforts. In just April of last year, a 25-year-old non-binary person named Sheila Lumumba was found dead in the north of Nairobi, having been raped and murdered in a reportedly gruesome manner. And at the time, this got quite a lot of traction within Kenya. I don't remember it making waves over here, unfortunately. However, it did in Kenya spark quite a bit of uproar and outrage. And there was a hashtag justice for Sheila Lumumba that went viral and, was associated and, say their name.
Yeah.
So this was quite a big case. And, the group, oh my God, I can't speak. The activism groups within Kenya, they made sure that this person didn't die without having their case being made public. They really wanted them to not die in vain.
Yeah.
Of course, they did die in vain, but, something good to come out of it.
Yeah, it's one of those, catch-22s, obviously you don't want anyone to die from a hate crime, but until it happens, you don't get the uproar from it to make the change.
But
if
obviously
that makes sense. I'm not sure if that was the best way to put it, but
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Unfortunately, it means that it's completely possible that Edwin Chiloba was a victim of a hate crime because it has happened so recently. And this is just a name we know.
Yeah.
There's probably been loads. There's underreporting of hate crimes. A hate crime isn't just murder of an individual
and
because of who they are.
You think of the whole Me Too movement, how long people had sat on that.
Exactly.
Before it became almost safe to speak up and say, actually, yes, I have been abused. That has happened to me.
Edwin himself was actually a victim of a hate crime. In fact, last year in 2022, I think towards the end of the year it was, he posted on Instagram, he later deleted the posts, pictures of him after he'd been beaten up for being effeminate or gay in public. It happens, and it could have unfortunately been the reason why he was killed. It seems not from the evidence that we have.
Okay.
Now, as we're saying, it appears to have not been the case here. We don't think that this was a hate crime. And, you know, that's due to also the fact that the confessed murderer identifies as a gay man as far as we know.
Yeah.
But this hasn't stopped LGBTQIA plus groups being very vocal over Edwin Chiloba's murder. And this is because, well, obviously initially they assumed it was a hate crime.
Yeah.
But since it's come out that it isn't, they don't want police to drag their feet just because the murder is of a gay person.
That's fair enough.
Because it is something that unfortunately could happen. It's almost like, oh, he was gay, we don't care as much. One less,
imagine.
You know?
Yeah.
And so instead, the groups have made just as much of an uproar, hounded the police just as much, because they know that unfortunately if they don't, it might fall to the wayside.
Easily turn into a cold case, even though they have all this evidence.
Yeah. And it does seem like police have been pretty active with it, which is brilliant.
Good.
And also a side note, I haven't mentioned it until now. So I believe Edwin did identify as gender fluid. Okay. However, in all the posts made by his friends in tribute to him, they used he, his, him pronouns.
Okay.
Hence why I am.
Yeah, fair enough.
So if anyone does see anything that says, that he was non-binary or gender fluid, I've continued to use these pronouns because that's what his friends have used. So I'm assuming those are what he was comfortable with.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, then I'm sorry. I don't mean to cause offence. But basically, activist groups just want to ensure that Edwin's case is treated with just as much importance as it would be had he been a straight man.
And that's very fair.
And a straight man killed by other straight men, Just because he's a gay man killed by, we think, gay men.
It shouldn't be less important.
Yeah. Sorry, I said gay man, a gay person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Edwin Chiloba's family, however, have refuted the fact that he was gay and a member of the Gay Society of Kenya. Instead, telling reporters how Edwin was a pastor and a dedicated Christian. His cousin, Cordisia Tanui, said, "We are perturbed with what we are seeing on social media, that our son was involved in ungodly practices. What we know is that he was a servant of God, and even locals in our village knew him as a pastor." His sister, Gladys Kiptu, described her brother as caring and polite, adding that, "It is unfortunate that after his murder, we are hearing so many evil things being levelled against my brother on social media." However, it is on Edwin's own social media that, like I said, last year he posted photos of himself showing injuries he sustained after an attack on him for being gay. And he stated in another post, when he was speaking about his activism within the LGBTQIA plus community, he said that he was going to fight for all marginalised people, saying that he himself had been marginalised, which is, really? Again, kind of insinuating that he is gay.
So he might have been out to his family, but he wasn't hiding the fact either.
I wonder if this was another reason for the name change on social media.
Oh, okay.
Again, I'm speculating. I don't know. But I wonder if that's another reason because...
Yeah. Do you know, there's something about like the whole coming out culture that I just find weird. Like, the fact that people have to do it. Like, do you know what I mean? Imagine
I never had to... Well, I mean, I did, but...
Yeah.
But, well, actually, I didn't really have to. But, like, you've never had to go to your parents like, "Guys, I think I'm straight."
Yeah, like, I think I like men. Like, yeah, it's just such a weird... You should just be able to...
You should.
Like,
however,
just feel comfortable in your own skin. Like, you shouldn't have to, It's always blown my mind that that's a thing.
Yeah, I know that some people like it. Not, they don't like coming out and they don't like being in the closet.
Yeah.
I don't mean that. But I mean, I know that some people kind of like being able to have that moment. I have heard
get it
some
off
people...
your chest, kind of.
Not like get it off your chest necessarily, but like this statement of I am who I am and be able to say that to their parents. But I suppose that's only because it's not, quote unquote, the norm.
Yeah. I just say, like, everything gets more accepting.
Yeah, I hope if I ever have kids that my children just bring home a partner one day, and that's
I'm going to tell Ola, as long as they love you and treat you right, I don't care who it is. Like, exactly. That's my two things. They have to love you and treat you well. Yeah.
And honestly, like, don't, like, if you want to make an announcement because it's validating for you, that's what I was trying to say earlier. Validating.
There we go, that's
because it's validating for you, brilliant. But also, if you just want to turn up one day with your partner and they are man, woman, non-binary, gender fluid, I don't mind.
Like, I remember,
are you happy? Brilliant.
Like, so one of my friends, he went to uni, and very similar story to this. It's almost like he found himself at uni, found his personality. He came back one day and he felt the need that he had to come out to me and Aidan. We were like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, it does not... He was like, it doesn't change anything. And I was like, why would it change anything? Like, what's
you're still the same person.
Yeah, nothing has changed.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was like, oh, I thought that was going to be a lot harder than it was. And I was like, why does it need to be hard? Like,
yeah, it's fine.
It's all gravy.
In fact, I was speaking about this with someone the other day, and there's the drag queen, Adore Delano, Danny Noriega, who I used to be a huge fan of. Yeah. And I believe their coming out story is that they came out to their mum, who was like, yeah, I've known for forever. And apparently their mum a week before had gathered all their siblings and been like, I think Danny's going to come out to us, by the way, so I'm just preparing you all.
But they obviously all knew.
Yeah. I think the mum was just like sort of prepping them, like, I think they're planning on coming out, so you know.
I know sometimes when people come out, you're like, yeah, duh. Like, I think we knew before you did, hun.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. We were waiting for you to get there.
Yeah.
Anyway, bit of a tangent.
Yeah, I went off on one.
So this suggests to me that whilst Edwin was clearly close to and well loved by his family, he was likely not out as a gay man to them or a gay person to them.
Okay.
And I think just because he probably knew their thoughts and he didn't want to ruin the relationship they had, which is really sad. But
yeah.
And I just want to say that I don't like to come on here and speak badly about a grieving family. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, and they're homophobic. Yeah. It's a different culture. It's a different place. They're obviously religious from what they're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not coming here and, you know, being, you know, trying to hate on a family who is going through an unimaginable and immeasurable pain. It's just clearly they were not going to be at this time accepting of who, you know, of his sexual orientation, and he just hadn't come out to them yet.
Yeah.
Perhaps they would have got there with time, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
They just weren't ready to accept Edwin's sexuality, and I think at the moment they're not ready to. With Cordencia adding to her statement, nobody would want their child to be that way. And
that's quite a...
But
I was about to say, that's not the way that you want to find out, especially if you're not necessarily homophobic, but it's just not something that you...
It's something that within your community
it's still a bit of
not
a taboo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And additionally, you're already processing that you've lost your loved one, and now you find out that you may not have known a whole side of them. That's a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot to put on someone.
Yeah, I'm not hating on this family. I'm also not okaying, not accepting your family members. It's a fine line. I don't want to be rude because I see both sides. It's, you know, you should always accept your family members and your children for who they are.
They're obviously really hurt, but...
Yeah, they loved him. They love him. And, you know, but it's a lot to process all at once.
Yeah.
And perhaps they will get there in time. And perhaps they would have got there in time had he eventually come out to them.
Yeah.
Sadly, we'll never know. Ultimately, though, no matter whether he was gay or straight, when it comes to seeking justice for his murder, the efforts should be the same. The outrage and the heartbreak should be the same.
Definitely.
And it seems that this could be a turning point in Kenyan LGBTQIA plus rights, as this case has received more attention worldwide than any crime against a member of the community before. I mean, even the fact that I came across it kind of says that.
Yeah, that's a positive. Out of the negative, it's
what you said earlier.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's so horrible that something like this has to happen. But most laws, sadly, come into place because of tragedies.
Yeah.
That's how you learn and you do better.
Yeah.
It's often through mistakes, and this is more than a mistake. But
yeah, it shouldn't have to get to this point, but
as I said, this case is ongoing, and even between recording this and releasing the episode, things might come out. We will keep you updated on what happens, and I hope you forgive me for a slightly different episode. I know that we normally present something all nicely wrapped up in a bow with justice served and clear answers, and believe me, that's actually the true crime that I tend to listen to and more quote unquote enjoy listening to, because I like to know that this is why it's happened. I can then sort of break that down, and then I can see that the justice has been served, and that's what I like. But I thought I'd switch it up a bit because this case did just kind of draw me in.
I think it's not as frustrating as an unsolved case, because obviously, although it's not solved yet, there's a lot of evidence. They've got a confession and they've got people in custody. So likelihood is it's not going to become a cold case. So eventually you will get that satisfying conclusion. Yeah. It's just a shame it's not right here, right now. But
yeah, we'd all want it to be wrapped up already because we'd all want all the answers. But obviously now that proceedings are probably going forward, they will keep their cards close to their chest until the court date hasn't even been set, but until the trial, because that's how it works.
Fair.
So we will keep you updated. If lots and lots of new things come to light, we'll do a proper episode. If it's just everything is what we all think it's probably going to be, that Jackton murdered him with help of these people due to either cheating or jilted lovers, then it will probably just be a little update on our news episode on Patreon. That will hopefully be starting soon.
To subscribe to our Patreon.
Hey.
Plug.
But thank you, everyone, for letting me cover a bit of a different case. And I also think it's really important to cover cases that aren't just Western world, because I think this is the first time we haven't. We've done non-UK and non-American cases, like we've done Italian cases.
Yeah.
But this is the first time in Africa.
Yeah, they have predominantly been westernized. Yeah. Western
and so
cases.
I think it's good to also branch out. Anyway, hopefully this bright, brilliant and passionate person just gets the justice he deserves. We will update you with whatever happens, but that is my hope, that Edwin Chiloba gets the justice that he deserves, and that this brings about a change for all people within the LGBTQIA plus community in Kenya and wider. And on that note, Jess, I don't think there's much more to say.
No, I don't think
but there is one thing left to say. And that is, stay spooky. Hey guys, if you have a ghost story or a case suggestion, please email us, truecrimecovenpod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Twitter @truecrimecoven or on Instagram and Facebook, where we are @truecrimecovenpod.
Also, it would mean the absolute world to us if you could rate us wherever you're listening to this right now, be it Spotify, Apple Music, or if you're on YouTube, give us a little thumbs up, click that bell, get notifications every time we post.
Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts from.
Make these two witches smile.
Thanks, witches!